A football podcast for football fans by football guys. Welcome to the End Zone Experts.
What up, dude?
What's up, man? I can't stop laughing what I just saw with that, man. I'm like,
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's so many. We have a buddy down in Bourbon Street, and he saw a sighting of what was it? Steven Seagal? Is that?
it looks absolutely nothing like, dude.
Seagal? No.
It's the worst. Like, it's so bad. It's almost funny, you know.
Yeah.
But hey, Dancing Bear's up this morning before 10. So I mean, hey, you know it's a big day. Something's happening, right?
Yeah, dude. There's been stuff all week. We went. We went yesterday and checked out the NFL Experience. And before we kind of went on live, I was telling you a little bit about it. They had Josh Jacobs there, Tyreek Hill, Flavor Flav. The kids had a good time.
Awesome.
The food was not the best, but you're at the convention center for crying out loud. So
what did they have? Like it was like a catering setup, or they had different booths, or like,
no? So basically, you would have to walk out of the convention center, kind of like right in the middle, and they had little booths set up where it had cheeseburgers, po' boys, but I wouldn't have a po' boy from there.
Yeah.
And then pizza. That was kind of it. It wasn't anything crazy. And then they had little spots throughout the convention center where you can grab like a Coke and chips and stuff. But
yeah,
it was. I mean, it was pretty cool, man. The kids had a good time. You know,
Did you notice Bradley Cooper's food truck? Did you ever come across that?
Dude, we didn't walk.
Yeah.
This is how we went there. I mean, it was New Orleans. If no one's from here understands kind of the traffic in New Orleans is chaotic. It's just not. Yeah. The infrastructure is not built for millions.
It's like a little. Would you say a little big city or big little city? I guess is the way to describe New Orleans because
it's hard to it's just not soundly structured for It's like I've never been to New York, right? But New York, doesn't have a lot of cars, right? But it's a big city. See, New Orleans is kind of like that. It's got a lot of people. Like everything's in walking distance.
Yeah.
You do
everything like good point, like New York. Okay, for instance, New York, Manhattan. Don't get me wrong. You got Brooklyn, you got other places. I'm no expert on New York. I went a couple times, but it's like Manhattan's the epicenter. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, like you said, it's so hard to find parking. New Orleans is like the same thing, but a lot smaller scale. But it's like, you can't find, dude, on a Saturday or Sunday going to the French Quarter, going downtown. Good luck trying to find a parking spot.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. What we ended up doing actually, and this worked out really good. I thought the city did a great job of this. Is we headed to the zoo. Where's the zoo? Oh Lord.
So the zoo's more like uptown, like Riverbend area, kind of. Yeah.
We went uptown and we parked there. In the city actually had this company that was shuttling people from the zoo to the convention center.
That's awesome.
And it was literally super easy. You're on there with other fans from the Chiefs. I had Vikings fans, all that kind of good stuff. They would drop you off at the Hertz, which is located right across the street from the convention center. And then whenever you wanted to go back, you just went back to that Hertz car rental. You get up on the bus, and then the great thing is the police. There was police like state troopers escorting the buses out, so you could it was easy. I was actually thinking of taking an Uber up there, and thank God I didn't because I realized Ubers weren't going to have police trafficking them there. So you're going to be stuck until
you basically were escorted to a certain degree. Like you were,
you were out and you were in, but the traffic was still. It was crazy. We got there at about, I want to say at about 11:30, 12, and we left at around 3:30, I want to say. So it's a good time.
If you went up Magazine Street, dude, Magazine can be, one way, it's two-way street, basically. It's only one lane each way. And it's like, dude, Magazine can, on a weekend, much less a Super Bowl.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and then Magazine just for whatever reason decides to stop and it cuts off and you got to go to other streets because it's only one way at one portion.
Yeah.
But dude, whoever designed, the city planner when it comes to where Uptown meets into downtown and that little portion of the area, man, I don't know if they were on some drugs when they did that or they never envisioned the fact that a lot more people would be living there or what. But it gets kind of confusing, man. There's some things down there that don't really flow perfectly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I was reading that there was an article yesterday on ProFootballTalk.com that was actually stating that the Super Bowl may end up having like 4 cities as their like destination, like their rotation, right?
I like it, yeah.
So, and those 4 cities is New Orleans, Las Vegas, Miami, and I want to say like Houston or Nashville, one of those 4.
Yeah.
And they were going to stay in a rotation with the 5th city being somewhere random, like Pittsburgh or something like that.
And see, that's the hard part, dude. Remember that Super Bowl that was in New York? Well, technically New Jersey, but that, the cold weather was such a factor. And I think it's so hard for them to play those games up north, unless it's like a Detroit or something where you got a retractable roof or something like that. What I'm saying? It's hard to play in the Northeast or up north, period. You don't have an indoor facility. Yeah.
I was telling my wife last night as we were coming home from the NFL experience, I said, one thing that I don't know if anybody will agree with me here, but I mean, when you talk about a true celebration of the game and Super Bowl, I think New Orleans really kind of embodies it because it's so much, it feels loose, meaning that people are just having a good time. They're just partying. There's so much food. There's so much drinks. Everything's popping. It's just a great time. I mean, come on. I mean, we hold Mardi Gras for crying out loud. So if there's any
you can handle that. Yeah, you can handle Mardi Gras. You can handle the Super Bowl. Yeah.
If anyone knows how to really truly party other than Las Vegas, Miami, I mean, it's New Orleans in my opinion. And I think a lot of the players and I think a lot of the TV personalities really have enjoyed staying in New Orleans and kind of partying and the we were talking earlier, the closeness of everything. I mean, you can walk down Bourbon Street to, what I'm saying? Everything is close by. It's not a horrible walk to go anywhere. Yeah. And I think just a lot of people love it. I mean, I don't know if you saw a picture yesterday, but there was up on Bourbon Street, there was a DJ. I forgot the guy's name. I think he's famous for whatever. But there was actually a log jam on Bourbon Street, like thousands of people. And he was up there on the balcony of this, I guess, restaurant or hotel. I don't know. And he was playing and people were just like going crazy over there. That's the kind of stuff you're not going to get that in other cities.
No, and it's different, dude, because I'll tell you, man, going to big cities like Chicago and LA, and it's like, and don't get me wrong, some cities are like, the key word, I think, I was listening to a news show on a local radio station this week, and walkability factor is a big thing. Like, I know going to stuff, for a past job, with conventions, Dallas to me was a city, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have nothing against people of Dallas, but I hated the way it's like downtown Dallas was a ghost town. It was just business and that's it. They didn't have much to do. You have to go to this part of town and you got to catch another Uber. You got to catch another Uber to do the good food areas. Like New Orleans, like you said, everything is there, dude. Like you want to go see the Aquarium of the Americas, you could go there. There's shopping down there. There's the river. If you just want to go hang out and walk and see something peaceful, I guess, go on the river. They have some of the best restaurants on the planet right there. There's nightclubs everywhere. I mean, it's like you said, dude, you don't have to go far to get to everything. Like everything you want to see in New Orleans, not saying there's not other good things, but between uptown and downtown in mid-city, you could catch it all from a streetcar, and a lot of it's very walkable.
Correct.
And that's the other cities. Like, man, you hear stuff. I've never been to Phoenix, but I heard that like Vegas, Phoenix, different places you have to drive. You have to go so far to get to things. I know Miami's a little bit like that too. What you talked about is great city for Super Bowls. I mean, hey, that's where the Saints won there, so I'll always have some love for Miami. But like you said, you don't have to go get into a long car ride to go places. You could just kind of stay at your hotel, and that's it, man. Yeah. You don't even need a car.
Yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. But it's here. It's finally Super Bowl Sunday.
It's here, man.
The wife is downstairs. She's getting food on right now. We're up here talking football.
The food, man. What's before we end the game, what's the food things, man? I go back and forth with so many things. I'm like, I'm not fully engaged on what's going to be done later today. I'm kind of on most of it, but I still have some things. It's like you think about finger foods, dips.
Yeah,
of course, is the main stuff.
Today, I'm typically a sliders guy. I think sliders, you can never go wrong. We're going to jump into our best Super Bowl foods right now, I guess, and let's get into it.
You got that them Hawaiian rolls, man.
Dude, the Hawaiian rolls go hard. You go with some pulled pork. Pulled pork is pretty good. Put that on with some Sweet Baby Ray's. Oh, yeah. That's some good stuff, man. We typically end up with some we'll do some, we call them they're pig shots, basically, and they do a little, those little sausages, little wieners, little sausages.
Yeah, man.
With bacon. Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, that's out of town. Yep. We have some loaded potato dip.
Man, that sounds awesome. So wait, loaded potato dip.
Yeah.
Like almost like a potato soup, almost like
no. It's like sour cream. It's got some bacon, some cheese. It really has no potatoes in it. It's crazy.
Oh, I got you. So it's like everything you would put like in a baked potato.
Yes.
But I got you. So like a cold style. Okay, I got you.
Yes. And it's
fun. Dude, I look at all this shit on like these TikToks and Reels, dude, and it's almost like it's like overload. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things I don't know where to make the decision at. You know what I mean?
Well, today we're doing simple, man. We're doing simple. We've got some family coming over. We're gonna all we're gonna do is smoke some hot dogs on the grill. We've got some onions. We like to caramelize some onions.
Oh yes.
I'm pretty simple. Yeah, I'm pretty simple. Some mustard, and we're kind of done with that.
Hey, dude, the caramelization of the onions, dude, is so key, man. Like when you go, I'll say this: when Chicago, man, you go to Chicago, these sons of bitches. There's something called the Maxwell Street Polish, and dude, I don't know what kind of crack they put on those onions, but dude, it's like the onions, you just eat them as they fall out. Like the onions is almost like the star of the show more than the meat itself. Like,
yeah.
But I've learned, I guess the thing, man, with onions, man, I don't know. I guess you got to let it go for a while. You know, that's the thing. You can't rush it almost because these onions, to get them like kind of that texture you want where it softens up and it's sweet. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I kind of get out of there is when I go up north up there. It's like these sweet kind of onions, and it's like they give off just this awesome taste. I mean, you can just eat a bun with a bunch of grilled onions in it, like in mustard.
Agreed.
I mean, I'm not kidding you.
Agreed.
That's where it all starts, dude. Do y'all do the peppers much, or just just mainly the?
We do, but we're gonna take. So we're also got some meatballs. You got to have meatballs, bro.
Yeah,
you got to have meatballs. We got those marinating right now in the crock pot with some red and yellow peppers kind of going. So we'll take some of those peppers and put those on the dogs. Listen, dude, you come in here, bro. If you leave hungry, that's your own fault.
Dude, I can do a fucking dog so many ways. I told you about that Seattle dog thing with the cream cheese, the brown mustard, the grilled onions. I could go New York style with sauerkraut, mustard, Chicago style, where they drag it through the garden, dude. I'm open-minded, dude. A good chili dog. Look, and that's the one time I'm good with raw onions on a Chicago dog and a chili cheese dog.
Yeah.
But most people in my house don't want raw onions. So, like, you know, grilling them. Don't get me wrong. I love grilled. I love them both ways, but the grilled is a way to go. But yeah, man, dude, the meatballs. Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to go with something like that, man. I got to figure a couple things out, man. I'm still not 100% prepared. I'm scared of what the grocery's gonna look like here in about an hour. But I got to go grab a few more things at some point, man. Yeah.
Now we got that going right now, and hopefully everyone's going to be happy and feeling good and fat. So, because I'm ready to dig in. For drinks, we've got just simple, man. Diet Cokes, tea, water.
There you go.
Borderline. I don't know if I'm going to drink today.
Like I said, I'm at that point, man. With Sunday, dude. If it's not the Saints, man, I'm gonna drink like playoff football. Watching them, I'm a casual, like maybe drink 2 or 3 beers, and that's probably it. Yeah. The Saints, man, I don't know what it is, dude. Maybe it's a nerves thing, dude. Probably the same way I'm sure with you and the Texans. It's like I can go through quite a few beers, man, and it's like you don't even feel like you're doing it. You know, it's just like you know, it's almost like a calming thing during a game.
It is. It is.
Because I'm not much of an eater. I eat at halftime during the game. I don't like to. I don't know, whatever it is, man. I'm not a big eater during Saints. Now other games like today, I'll sit there and eat during the game. You know, what I'm saying? But during the Saints game, it's like I eat right beforehand, or I'm eating at halftime. You know,
yeah.
I can't.
If I'm watching the Texans, I'm nervous already from the get-go. So I don't eat during the Texans at all. It's just more depending on the game. It's like, oh my gosh, how much am I stressing out? How much beer I'm going to take? But no, the Texans, they kind of, you know, it's hard to eat down. But
what you got going on with this game, man? What you I don't know, man. Is there anything? Let me ask. We were talking on the subject of football foods. Is there something that you would want to cook and don't feel like doing it today? Because there's things that pop in my mind, and I'm looking at time. You know, it's like you look at time. You have kids. You have pets. Everything. It's like, dude, what's the time allowing me to do on this Sunday? You know what I mean?
I want to smoke a brisket, but that's just not possible right now.
Man,
that's just not possible.
You got to start it the day ahead. Yeah, you got to.
Exactly. And yesterday we were at the NFL Experience. There's no way we can't. Yeah, it's just too much, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
Clean up the house. Got to get everything ready for people to come over. But for the most part, we're laid back, man. We're laid back. Speaking of laid back, I do want to get into some, and we're going to transition here into some bets.
Let's do it.
And we talked a little bit about this kind of before. We came across a really, really, really interesting stat that I think really shocked. Dave and I.
And Chris, real quick, do you have the line for what the
Barkley
over-under is?
I do.
Okay. I heard it's pretty high. The other podcast we did middle of the week, it's like I heard the number, and I might be wrong. I thought it was like well over 100, wasn't it?
It is. So I'm going to start off with my pick. I'm just going to go with my picks now. It has nothing to do with rushing yards, but we're going to get into Saquon Barkley here in a minute. Right. I took a plus 315. Did a 4-pick parlay on DraftKings. $20 to win 83. I did. Nice. This is very simple, very easy. I think this is gonna realistically hit. Patrick Mahomes passing touchdown 1+. So one or more touchdowns.
Probably likely. Yeah, likely to happen. Yeah.
Don't see anytime touchdown score. It's just Taylor's there, Swift's there. They're going to feed Kelsey. Kelsey's going to get a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think Devontae Smith, I think he gets 40+ yards.
So that's his over under 40? Man.
That's what I'm taking.
Did you move it? Did you move that?
I did. I moved this. Yes. This is moved. So this is not what's the line. I moved this for what I think is going to actually hit. And then I took Xavier Worthy with 4+ receptions.
Okay. Look, dude, if they play, if they do what Sean McDermott and the Bills did last week, he'll easily get those 4 because, man, they were playing so far off that guy. I think the Eagles a little better secondary, but like you said, you don't want Mahomes may look for those short, easy throws early in the game. You know what I mean? And Worthy's a guy, like you said, he's the type of guy you could catch a 5-yard pass and turn upfield for 20. You know?
Yeah.
So that makes a lot. And like I said, I just don't see. You know, like you said, Mahomes is going to get his. You know, the numbers are going to look Mahomes like. They're not, explosive like they were in the Tyreek Hill days, but they're going to be solid and good. So, yeah, I mean, Worthy catching some passes. Kelsey, dude, I kind of agree there. I mean, it feels like he's going to do something today. I don't think it's going to be a pedestrian. I think both tight ends, man, have a chance to really factor into this game, man.
I do. I just think it's going to be like we always see that these games remind me of LSU, Alabama. And people are watching like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, if you don't watch LSU, Alabama, they always start off like dull, boring, and no one scores until like the end of the second quarter, third quarter. And to me, that's what I always feel the Super Bowl happens. It's just like kind of slow. Things kind of are people are nervous. People are uptight. Not a lot of explosive plays are happening. And then about the end of the second quarter, you see a touchdown. Third quarter gets really ramped up. Fourth quarter gets ramped up, and then it's always down to, how are they going to pull this out at the end in the fourth? That's to me the Super Bowl, how it always kind of plays out. That's just my opinion.
Right. I mean, how many first quarters you see just shots downfield, 50-yard plays? It doesn't happen too often, man. Like you said, it's almost
rare.
it's very safe. You know what I mean? It's a very safe vibe early on.
Yeah, it's very, very rare. But with that being said, with my picks, I stayed away from the running back, and we're going to get into this. Multiple reasons why.
And I'll tell you this, I'm scared. I did take a bet on a guy, and he's one of my personal favorites, although he hasn't played well lately, and I don't think he's at 100% at all. But I took Pacheco as anytime touchdown scorer, man. His odds were really like in a bettor's favor, if that makes any sense. And Hunt's been it's like they've been trusting Hunt a little bit more, but I've been noticing at times they're still trying to get Pacheco those reps. And I mean, and once again, another extra week to heal for him. I don't know, man. He's a good short yardage runner. I could see him getting in there. I don't know why. I feel like he's kind of forgotten about a little bit right now. And, just because he hasn't been putting up the numbers lately, I got him as an anytime scorer.
Yeah. I mean, I've done some other bets too, but that's kind of like my go-to end zone experts grand slam. Yeah. Easy, winning a few dollars. That's kind of where it went. But to the running back part, you mentioned Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
Plus 119, right?
Holy shit. That is crazy, dude.
If he goes 120 plus yards rushing. Okay. So in order to hit that 120 yards, right? It's negative 122 if he's 110 plus rushing yards. Right? So you're not really making money until he goes over 120. Yeah. Right? But with that being said, so me and you were actually talking about this beforehand.
Yeah.
We started going and saying, man, there's just not that many running backs that rush for over 100 yards. Just 100, not 120, but just 100 yards. So we started, researching this a little bit, and there were 19 players are tied for the most games with 100 plus rushing yards in the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
The first three, now listen to the years here. The first three are Damian Williams, February 2nd, 2020.
That's most recent ones, right?
Most recent on down. February 2nd, 2020. Behind him is Marshawn Lynch, February 1st, 2015.
Mm-hmm. And then is that the handoff year? That's the year, I guess, that that had to have been the handoff year, right?
And then Frank Gore's in 2013. So with just seeing what I've seen here, and listen, Saquon's a beast.
Right.
But it tends to be that Super Bowls are not where running backs really shine. I'm not saying Barkley can't rush for 70 yards and a touchdown and receive for 20 or 30 yards. That's not what I'm saying. But for 120 yards rushing, man. Is
it the element where you force somebody else to beat you mindset? Because we always see these guys. I mean, I don't know I can't think of David Tyree's stat line in that Super Bowl, but he had the famous catch in that game. I mean, we've seen other games where it's been like, I want to say maybe almost obscure guys that really produce in the Super Bowl. It happens. I mean, you had mentioned, I think one of those running backs was Dominic Rhodes, right?
Yeah, so we went back.
Who would ever bet on that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we started going back, and then after, let's go a little further. We can go to Frank Gore in 2013, Thomas Jones in 2007.
Right.
Dominic
and Jones was a big part of that Bears offense at that point in time. Like we were talking before the show, the Saints, I remember losing in the –
No, that's not with the Bears. That was with that looks like the Jets.
Oh, he was. Well, that's right, because Jones did. That's right. That's Rex Ryan time, right?
That was Rex Ryan.
Okay. So he was. Was that Mark Sanchez?
That was Mark Sanchez.
Wow.
Yep.
I was about to say, because man, I'm trying to. Golly, I'm thinking you talking about was he was with the Bears? Man, I'm trying to go back, dude. I'll tell you, once you hit 40, he was with the Bears prior to the Jets. Then.
Well, maybe. No, 2007. Who was in the Super Bowl, Dave?
Well, I mean, it would have been now. So, okay, if it was for the 06 season that carried over, it had to be the Bears and the Colts, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
So, because I remember him. Now he was, but it's funny because the reason why you say that, and this is where I bought in because I could have gone like what you said made sense is because I remember going the only game I went to as a Saints fan the year they won the Super Bowl in 2009 for that season. I went to the Jets game, which was like the third or fourth game of the year, and Thomas Jones was with Mark Sanchez on that team. That's right, Sanchez. That had to be maybe year one or two.
No, let's back up.
Thomas Jones was like their focal point. I remember at that point.
I gave you wrong information. You're actually right. It's actually Jones with the Bears, Dominic Rose with the Colts, and that was actually in the same game.
Same game.
It was. Jones and Rose were the last running backs to go over 100 yards. Oh,
so that's the Tony Dungy Colts, right?
Yes, that's it.
Against Lovie Smith's Bears, man.
Yep. That's it.
That's wild, dude. In the same game.
Same game. Jones had 112 rushing yards and Rhodes had 113.
God, Dominic Rhodes, man. It's like I remember him having a little bit of run for a minute, but I mean, let's be real. That's a guy that most fans kind of forget about.
With that being said, and we're not going down a history lesson, but with that being said, if we're purely placing a bet on Saquon today, I would not bet Saquon hits 120 yards. He may go over 100, but 120. Yeah. I'm not even. I mean, think about it because you said I think you were telling me that list earlier. You said like Michael Pittman. Who would have bet on Michael Pittman? Who would have bet on Michael Pittman? That was in 2003.
Yeah,
that was 4 years.
Who would have bet on Damian Williams? Although remember he was pretty good in the postseason, but nobody would have took a bet on Damian Williams.
No, that was in 2020. That was 5 years ago.
I mean, think about the Kansas City running backs that have been on some of those teams. It would have been Kareem Hunter-Pacheco before you think about Damian Williams. You know what I mean?
I would heavily advise anybody placing bets today to stay
clean away from that shit.
Yeah.
Like
now, could he score a touchdown in the end zone? Yeah, I would probably go with an anytime touchdown, but I would not touch his yardage today.
I feel like he would need that big play like he's had in some of these games, like the last game. It feels like he would need that 50-plus yard run to get that number today.
Yeah. I just can't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah. And it's hard with that Kansas City defense, dude. I mean, that front seven, as good as they are. You know, on other podcasts, I talked about that too. Chris, I don't know if you believe in that kind of situation, but with Kansas City, it's like you almost want to force them, if you're Philadelphia, if you can get them into a nickel, you know, or dime situation, by taking one of those linebackers off the field, putting one of the DBs in, that would be the best case scenario for a guy like Saquon,
It would, but the thing is the Eagles are such a rushing.
Right.
You've got Barkley, you've got Hurts. It's different than Mahomes constantly gunslinging it down the field. I just don't see them doing that. I think they're going to really hone in on the rushing from the Eagles today.
Like force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have. I mean, that's what I.
And see, to me, Chris, that's a scary part of this game, dude. For me, for an Eagles fan, it's like if they just sell out hard and putting guys like Justin Reed in the box with those great, front seven guys like they got with, Jones and Bolton and Karlaftis, all these guys up front.
Yeah,
that scares me because I don't know if Jalen Hurts can, I'm assuming McDuffie would be on A.J. Brown. I would look at that other matchup against Devontae Smith. But to me, like, it's funny. I'm going to tell you, I know we're kind of in a betting talk right now. I bet on Dallas Goedert for MVP. And I know that's probably an unlikely candidate, but I feel like if they're going to win this game and get that defense off of Barkley to where they do have to bring maybe extra DB in, I think it's going to be Goddard exposing somebody or getting behind that defense, which he can do. Dallas Goedert has that ability to go. He's not the guy you first think about in this league about getting 15, 20 yards or so, on a seam route, but he does that. He can do that, and he can make a little something happen after the catch. It feels like to me, if I'm the Eagles, like he holds the key to me for the Eagles. I think he opens up everything else, if that makes any sense.
No, I agree. I placed another 4-pick parlay plus 485. Really easy. I did $10 to get $58. I did Mahomes rushing yards at 15 plus.
Yeah,
15 or more rushing yards.
Now you move it. Did you move that, or you?
I did. These are all things I've moved.
You're customizing everything.
Here's what I do. I customize for me personally. because obviously we don't want to lose money. No one does.
Right.
I'm moving it to what is legitimately, reasonable, one, and then I kind of parlay these together and what I see like what's really going to happen. Like, okay, so
Mahomes 15 yards seems like that could happen in the first quarter.
Correct.
So
like
Patrick Mahomes for 15. I like that.
Correct. Patrick Mahomes getting 15 plus yards. That's very reasonable.
I think I could see the over under being like a realistic 30 to 35 somewhere in there.
Kareem Hunt 40 or more yards. That's realistic.
And he's played well. Kareem Hunt it's been a resurgence, man.
I can see Jalen Hurts 40 or more yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's realistic. And then I top it off with Jalen Hurts anytime scorer, and that gives you a plus 485. $10 gets you $58. These are small bets that can hit, and they kind of start building up your bankroll. You don't listen. I get it. Everyone wants to put the $10 on a 28 leg parlay, but
right.
Those aren't
likely. You're not
cool and likely for all those.
Something is going to screw it up. It's like
absolutely.
It's like the NBA bets, like buddies of ours, man, that do that, and it's like, oh man, I hit on this guy, and the one guy misses on an assist or a rebound, and it's like it's so hard to you're playing lottery type odds almost at that point. You know what I'm saying?
One thing that I would do is I would kind of tie in sometimes. I would hit a money line into these parlays, but I've started to kind of stay away from those because I start noticing like I'm going to give you one. Bills and Chiefs I did, right? Here's one I lost, obviously, but I did the Bills money line. I did Josh Allen anytime score. Those two did not hit. And then I took an anytime TD score from Xavier Worthy. That one did hit.
Yeah.
So the money lines usually, kind of hurt a little bit for me, but I love parlays.
And you always got to keep that player, like you said, in the back of your mind. I know I kind of said it with Goddard, is there a guy you see like Kansas City? Is there anybody you see like a Juju or somebody odd, like a Noah Gray? Is there somebody – it feels like somebody can do something in this game like that with Mahomes.
I think if I'm betting my own money, I'm saying the one – everyone's going to lean more towards Kelsey, right? But I would say behind him it's going to be Xavier. That's who I would have to say.
Do you see like it's funny because DeAndre Hopkins has been kind of quiet lately, This is this is his chance to win,
correct.
In a ring. And it feels like is this the moment, like as a coaching staff, they're like, hey, DeAndre, we're going to get you involved, man. This is the game you've been waiting for this your whole career. You know what I'm saying? Is that guy? Look, everybody, you don't have to motivate anybody to play a Super Bowl.
No. You're right.
But
you're right.
He's been, you know what I'm saying, just given his great career and this opportunity.
That does play in a factor too. Like when you start thinking about the players, I could see DeAndre being at his age, finally getting to the Super Bowl. And trust me, if anyone knows about DeAndre's pain, it's me. I've seen it. I've lived it with him. And it's so great to see that he finally got there.
Right.
And a little interesting tidbit too is not only did he get there, but Justin Reed's been there, but he was actually drafted by the Houston Texans as well.
I remember that, yeah.
It's good for him to be there. So, yes, I do think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will try and maybe give him a shot or two. I just kind of lean towards you gotta lean more towards how the Chiefs are going to win the game, and I just don't think Hopkins. I got to be careful how to say this. He does impact the game, kind of quietly. But if I'm Chiefs and I'm game planning, obviously you want Kelsey, you want Worthy. Then it would be kind of maybe Hopkins. Then you're looking at Pacheco and Hunt. Those are kind of in that kind of order is where I'm leaning. You got to go to your strengths, your strengths.
And it feels like that's what they've done all year. You haven't had that, sometimes it's been an odd guy to step up and make a few plays, but it's still like a share the wealth type system. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many stat lines. I can't remember too many times where you look at a Chiefs player this year and hey, that guy went off in fantasy this week. You know what I mean?
I just see like Worthy being the guy he's so incredibly fast. I don't think the Eagles are going to pinpoint on him like really early on. I think they're going to kind of really focus on Kelsey and then the rushing. And I think the third option for the Eagles is to think about Worthy. And I think that's when Worthy kind of explodes on them. And then that's when the focus will shift over to Worthy. And then that's when
I mean, do you think – see, this in other podcasts we talked about it, and I said, hey, man, to me, one of the guys – and it's the ex-Saint, but it's not the ex-Saint that everybody's thinking of who had the, incredible year this year, Zach Bond. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to be heavily relied upon in this game.
I mean, he could. He could.
I mean, I feel like not just, he can play the run a little bit, but I feel like, is he a guy you put on Kelsey? Knowing we know about him, look, love him or hate him, and I got a mixed way of feelings on, Chauncey. I think he's a damn good player. I think he's an intriguing personality, but he's the kind of guy, like, if anybody's going to match wits, like kind of get in Kelsey's head, this guy on a stage like this, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, man. I can just imagine the stuff this dude's going to tell Travis Kelce and getting this. Like, I would love, if I'm the Eagles, I want that matchup all day. And I'm trusting those other guys like Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. I'm trusting those guys against the rest of that group. I am. And I don't know, dude. I just feel like Chauncey to me is like the way Goddard kind of holds the key on offense to me. I think with play action and different things downfield, he can take, the focus off Barkley and maybe Devontae Smith a little bit. I think Chauncey on that defensive side of the ball, if he can lock up Travis Kelce, remember this guy, he's played a lot of different positions in the secondary in his career. The Saints, we used him in many different ways. He can cover a guy like Kelce with no problem, So, I almost look at him. I'm like, I got a feeling and let me get to where I was going with that too. I was going to, kind of segue into that. But do you think, and we don't have it too often, do you think there's any way there's a defensive player MVP in this game, and who would it be?
No, I don't.
Too many big offensive names, I guess, to get to that point.
Dave, this is a quarterback league.
Yeah.
It'll always be a quarterback league.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. But again, if I'm betting, like I have to go with where my greater chance of success and winning would be on that ratio, and it's going to be a quarterback somehow. If for a defensive player to actually come out and you're going to have like a historic.
It's going to be some forced turnovers involved. Basically.
Yeah, you would have to have like 2 return touchdowns, 6 like
that. Was it with Larry Brown, right? Larry Brown with the Cowboys.
Correct. You would have to have something on that aspect, and it's just defense.
Let me ask you: was Von Miller? He was a Super Bowl MVP, right? I tell you, man, it's like we're going raw, y'all. We're just going right off the no Google shit, nothing. But I don't know. I almost want to Google that.
I do want to say Von Miller probably was, but
remember the Peyton Manning Super Bowl? It's like it felt like.
Yeah. I love Von Miller out of Texas A&M, man.
I almost want to think of like how many defensive players have won that. You might be faster than I am with that, man. I'm just curious.
Super Bowl 50, he actually was the MVP, yeah.
Von Miller? It felt like, because remember that defense was so damn dominant, and that really kind of guided Manning, who was kind of, starting to kind of age was catching up with him a little bit at that point. But that defense was so incredible that year.
Yeah. It's going to take something special like that, and I don't.
It just feels like doesn't feel like there's too much offense. Like there's too many superstars.
It is
in this game.
It's way too many superstars that are on the offensive side. This is if you're going to have to lean, it would be Mahomes, Barkley, if somehow he can pull off the history of being just bad at running back. And he's not a bad running back. That's not what I'm saying. But it'd be Mahomes, Barkley, Hurts, Kelsey. Then you go down to Jay Brown, probably Goddard, 6. There's just so much. There's so many more offensive players that impact the game.
It just feels weird, man. It feels like, I don't know why. I feel like I want to look at like a Juju Smith. I want to look at like a Dallas Goedert. Like, what I'm saying, for winning this award. I feel like the coaching staffs are so good on these teams, and they're so good at taking things away. And
Don't overthink it. Let me tell you.
I know. Right. I just feel like Kelsey's going to have I think Kelsey can score a touchdown. I just don't think it's going to be a 7-catch, 120-yard performance. I see more like 4 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown for Kelsey today. I think they put Gardner on him and lock him up. I really feel like that's got to be their path in this game. You know what I mean? And I just don't know if A.J. Brown against McDuffie, who's one of the – I mean, he doesn't get enough recognition sometimes to me. I mean, I know that everybody knows him by name, but McDuffie to me, I mean, that guy's one of the best, since he entered the league. I mean, he just gets it done at corner.
Two things you mentioned. One, I see it's just so hard to body up Kelsey. He's just so big over the middle.
He's physical, yeah.
The 4 safeties are like so small when they go up against Kelsey.
Right. Now Chauncey's physical though, man. And it's like, look, dude, it's not the old Saints thing. I know some people, man, who watch and say, "Oh, he's getting into the old Saints players," but I mean, Chauncey's a physical. I've seen that guy run support. Trust me, as a Saints fan, I hated to lose him. I don't even know if I really liked the guy that much from his personality, but as a football player, he did a lot of things, and he's physical. He can get dirty. But like you said, now I like the fact that Mahomes, with his touch, with his accuracy, being as special as it is, he can drop something over the head of Chauncey, to a big target like Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, dude. Like Devontae Smith's like a guy too, like who, this Kansas City, how do they approach Smith? But I mean, Spagnola's been so on point, man. Like I just feel like Goddard's the guy that's going to be the one that slips through the cracks to me.
Well, I feel the Eagles have more on paper. Yes,
yeah.
I think they have more talent offensively than the
right.
Chiefs. The Chiefs just have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, and that's.
I mean, maybe a healthier Pacheco and a Rashee Rice available, that would maybe kind of make it a little more even. But like you said, it definitely favors the Eagles with that star.
It does favor the Eagles, but you can't sleep on Pat. It's
no.
Growing up and kind of watching the whole Brady, I always thought Brady made players and elevated them to be studs, right? And I think that's exactly what Mahomes is doing right now with I mean, look at it. I mean, we all thought that once Tyreek Hill was gone, how are they ever going to recover? And it's like they just didn't even skip a beat, and they're making guys like Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, who I'm not saying are slapjaws or anything like that. But it's crazy that they don't need a stud wide receiver,
right?
And
I mean, who you think back in the day? I mean, look at it back in the day, dude. Who you think the 49ers are letting Jerry Rice walk? I mean, I know they eventually did, but I mean, in that prime with Joe Montana or even the early years of Steve Young, you think there's any way that happens? You think the Cowboys are letting Michael Irvin walk away? You know what I mean? It's like you don't see that happen.
But you also
these Hall of Fame receivers just let them walk away in their prime, like they let Tyreek Hill go. And still, like you said, they don't miss a beat. I mean, maybe the numbers aren't as sexy fantasy wise, but I mean, damn, you look at the numbers at the end of the day, this dude's still putting up top tier quarterback numbers, and they're maybe not as flashy as a few other guys, but dude, they're dangerous. They're winning games. Like they're tough to beat. They play great situational football when it matters.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's crazy that the Eagles have A.J. Brown, who's a stud. They have Devontae Smith, who's a wide receiver too.
Yeah,
he's kind of a borderline wide receiver one on most teams.
Right, a lot of teams. Yeah.
He's like he's there too. So I mean, the Eagles are set up good, and it's like now you have DeAndre Hopkins, who's over 30, Xavier Worthy.
Yeah,
and I couldn't even.
I mean, you get into like DeAndre, Justin Watson, Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. Juju. I get Juju would be.
Juju. I mean, like it's a weird group, you know what I'm saying? I mean, but the thing is, I guess if anybody's going to utilize that group, it's that combination of Patrick Mahomes, who's so good at spreading the ball around and, being so, cerebral in his game, and then having a guy like Andy Reid, who's, one of the best ever as well, what he does with setting up a game plan like that, and calling plays. So it feels like, man, if you got the coach and you got the great quarterback, you're so halfway there in the NFL. Let's be real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, see, and the Philly's got a great coach staff as well with Sirianni and those guys. But to me, it's like I don't know, and this is not a knock on Hurts. I just don't know if Hurts can take over this game the way I know Mahomes can.
Correct. He's going to have to rely on his supporting cast to get him through this game, and to where the Chiefs are going to really rely on Mahomes to get them through the game. And it's going to be an interesting battle. I mean, really honestly, and this is kind of what we're gonna head into that. Who's winning it all? I am really pulling for the Eagles. One, because I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs, and people can say hate whatever. I thought the Chiefs got away with and a lot of calls this season. Yeah. You can say what you want, but as a Texan, and Dave, you know me, as a Texan fan, I'm not ever really calling out a ref.
Yeah.
But boy, were those so blatant, and I'm still bitter about that game. I think the Eagles are the perfect bad guys. They're like the NWO, in my opinion, to come in and beat the Chiefs. And Philly fans deserve it. When we were out there yesterday at the NFL
Great fans, man.
They are good fans.
They really, are. I mean, love them or hate. I mean, look, I'm not saying going to Philly they'll be the most welcoming bunch, but I mean, we partied with some of them after 06 in the playoffs when the Saints knocked them out, and they couldn't have been cooler. Maybe they were being friendly because Katrina was like a year before that, but I don't know. They were pretty awesome that night when we hung out with them. You know.
Yeah. No, it was really cool to meet with a lot of them. Yesterday we were at the Panini, which is a card collectible company, and we were there, and the family and I were kind of getting our pictures done and these cards. And there were some Eagles there. This guy had this chain, like a huge football helmet with diamonds and all that.
Oh, what?
Like, oh man, it's so cool, man. Where did you get that at? And he was like, oh, we went to the GLD, the Gold Shop, which was actually a booth in the convention center. And I was like telling my wife, I was like, babe, I want one with the Texans, I'm interested. So I said, man, can I ask how much was it? He's like, oh, it's like $2,000. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm good. And then his son had a smaller one. So I was like, well, how much is that one? Oh, like $650, $700.
Jeez. And I've seen that place, dude. They have popped up on my, I don't know what I looked up to get them to pop up.
They're on social media.
Yeah, they're big, and don't get me wrong, they has a lot of cool sports shit.
They have some cool stuff, cool things, cool gimmicks. Yeah. We went into the shop and kind of looked around. Again, I'm a big Texan fan, so I like the new H logo. Yeah. I was kind of hoping maybe to find one there, but they didn't. But there were Saints fans getting the Florida Lee. They've got a lot of cool men and women's jewelry. AKA, we're not.
How were the Saints fans? I mean, I know Dancing Bear was out there with his Breeze jersey. I mean, it was the Saints fans usually when they go to something like this, they'd love to show their black and gold colors. I mean, were they out and about, or was it more?
I found obviously you're going to see much more Saints fans because it's in New Orleans, but I thought I saw a lot of mixture.
From different teams, like
a lot of Bills fans. I saw Chiefs fans. I've seen. I'm sorry, my daughter came in here and she's ruining all this right now. Hold on real quick. Jeez.
The Sunday Home Podcast. Bro. I got my kids going in the garage fridge. I got a German Shepherd right here.
Yeah. So
I hear you, bro. I hear you. I know the feeling.
Crazy. But no, we went and there were a lot of Saints fans and a lot of Bills fans, a lot of Chiefs fans.
So the Bills fan, you did see some Bills stuff.
I did. I saw some Bills, and they were dressed up too. They were like really dressed up to the nine.
God, I wish they were there, man. I tell you, dude. I know Chiefs fans ain't gonna like me saying it, but I wanted to party. If the Bills Mafia was there, dude, I'd have probably been like Dancing Bear. I'd have been there probably multiple days, dude.
It was fun. I think if they come back, like I would like to maybe go a few days before that Saturday and kind of enjoy the shows and kind of partaking in seeing some of the celebrities and coaches go in there.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool.
And I tell you, man, you were golly, man, we were just talking about something, man. I got a dog on me now, and we were talking about. Oh, wait, say again.
That's what exactly happened to me. Yes.
And I'm trying to think, man. You were just talking about like, golly, where did I want to just go into that with? I got it, man. I tell you, dude, being over 40 and dealing with dogs and kids, everything else. All right, so you made a good point, and this is why I picked the Eagles to win this game. I mean, I don't know if maybe I'm coming a little soon on that part of it, but
No.
on the other show, I said 28-25 Eagles. Somebody else beat me to 27-24, but I like that score. I don't think I think these are two really good rosters. But to me, you made a good point about what happened with the Texans, and the same thing would happen to Buffalo. I mean, and let's be real, dude. I give the Chiefs all the respect in the world for what they've accomplished. They've been a great dynasty. They've handled it well. I mean, look, people find reasons to hate those guys, whether it's Taylor Swift or whatever. The way Mahomes talks, Kelsey, not knowing how Louisiana food rocks. They find ways. But to me, I've always liked those guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? But this year, I feel like it does feel like there's a little something. And I'm not one of those football scripted guys. I'll never be that guy with sports. I'm totally against that 100%. But I do feel like they've gotten these touchy calls, like the Texans game. Like, me and you were talking about it on other podcasts that we did in the playoffs. I thought that's why I was so enthusiastic about Buffalo was you guys, I thought, good enough to play. Y'all played close enough, like almost there, almost good enough to win that game. But you guys got taken out of the game with some bad calls with that roughing the passer early on. And I said to myself, man, well, Buffalo, maybe just with Allen, there's a little more. I think you guys had the better defense in Buffalo, but I thought Buffalo had a little better offense, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Then the fact that they were, Buffalo just seemed to be on this high and they should, let's be real. If he calls in that game, I'm not so much worried about the catch with Worthy or different things like that. I didn't like the ball placement on that fourth down. I thought that was terrible. I thought they got the first down twice there, but it is what it is. It came down to a 3-point game, but it feels like you're closer and closer to taking that L. And I just don't see where they can break away and win a game like this by multiple possessions and break away. It feels like the Eagles might be the perfect team, like you said, to do it, the perfect villain, because they have a better defense in Buffalo. Buffalo's secondary was really depleted with injury, and their defense was kind of bend but don't break all year. The Eagles' better defense have been top 5 all year, and I think you said they were the number 1 unit in yards every game. I want to say they finished that way. So the Eagles' defense to me is an upgrade over Buffalo. And like we talked about the offense, there's a lot of guys that can make plays here. So it feels like they are the perfect candidate to knock them off, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. I think the Eagles. My heart wants the Eagles to win.
Yeah.
I'm going to be bullish today, and I'm just going to go with that. But I would say I'm not going to be at all shocked, okay?
If the Chiefs win.
If this game comes down to a Chiefs win, 28-21, Mahomes in the fourth quarter with a few minutes left, somehow, I just something like that, I can kind of – I see that. Something in the fourth quarter where Mahomes is – it's almost weird, like we all say, and the funny thing is the NFL scripted. It's just I see this play being written where it's like the Eagles are like, how are the Chiefs ever going to come back from this? And Mahomes, it's down now. The clock's ticking, and it ends up being a triumphant win with the Chiefs getting their third.
The almighty three-peat. Yeah, the almighty three-peat. Yeah.
It's like there's a vision of there's Taylor Swift celebrating, oh my gosh, with all her friends and famous people. Yeah. It's just like
if you see Caitlin Clark again with Taylor Swift, is that almost like imminent doom? It feels like, or what?
I sure hope not, because I really like Caitlin Clark. I think she's.
I do, and I got nothing against Taylor Swift, man.
No, I don't. I think it's a little.
It's overdone. It's overdone.
It's a little overdone considering Josh Allen's dating Haley Stringfield, and she's never reported or like. I just don't understand what the whole like thing is with looking at Taylor in the press.
And it's just in the NFL. That's what it feels a little WWE-ish, when that happens. And I think that's why more fans than ever are saying this because of
like how many other players dated. And this is an interesting topic, and we're not going to get far off into this because we're getting there. It's almost an hour, but it's funny because how many other players have dated famous people, right? But what is so significant about Taylor Swift, other than the fact that she sells out all her concerts? She's the hottest thing right now going in music for whatever reason.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I mean, have I listened to songs from her when my kids were younger? Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff I'm like, okay, I'll play that, maybe once in a while. It's not on my playlist now, but you know what I mean?
I think there's a clear objective. Like they know if they can open up more fans to the NFL through Taylor Swift, that's what the NFL is doing. I think it's a great marketing ploy. I'm not questioning the fact if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are in love. I'm not here to debate that, but I do think the NFL is leaning on the fact that, hey, oh my gosh, here's Taylor Swift, and
she's not just and like you saying, it's not like you think of other players. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I mean think of Ciara or Russell Wilson or
she was never
Romo. We had Jessica Simpson or Carrie.
That was
Underwood,
one time,
it was
one time, and I think they lost that game.
Yeah,
she was never shown again. She was gone, never shown again.
Fun. Yeah, I remember. That's and that's what I'm saying. It's like right now, her impact globally right now is insane. Like I said, it reminds me of Michael Jackson or Madonna or Prince as a kid, maybe even more so. Older people, Elvis. It has that Beatles, Elvis. I mean, it's it's crazy what she's. And I mean, I don't know. Dude, I feel like it's like I want the Eagles to win this game.
I do.
In a way, because I feel like the ones I feel like there's a lot of fans. It feels like one out of every 3 or 4 football fans believes there's some kind of scripted element of this. So I would really love to see the Eagles win to just end all that stuff.
There's just a lot of coincidences on the Chiefs side. That's kind of the best way I would put it. I'm not, we're not here to say it's scripted. That's not what we're saying. But
what's the chances of Caitlin? I mean, was it Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift? Man, I don't think that just happened by accident. Let's be real. One of the biggest names in sports in the last.
It's not an accident. Out of all of the 70,000 seats you could have sat in, you just so happenly sat
and they're next to each other, sitting next to each other.
You're like, oh, we didn't even know you were here, and it's like, oh, really? I was just 2 seats down from you instead of out of the other 69 or 70,000 seats she could have sat in.
And I don't know where and I'm not saying it's impossible that they couldn't, hey, Caitlin Clark might have been a Swiftie growing up. I mean, she's in her early 20s. I mean, hey, I get it. She grew up a Chiefs fan. Taylor's who she is, but it's just kind of odd. You know what I mean? It feels too well placed, if that makes any sense. I just remember being back before it became the Pelicans, the Hornets, one year when Chris Paul was there in the playoffs. We had some special deal with our season ticket things where we got to spend a playoff game in a suite. And a few suites over, this is more of a mixture that you'll never see. It was Tommy Lee from Motley Crue and Ludacris.
Breaking news.
Oh, what you got?
The Jets have informed Aaron Rodgers that they will be moving on from him in this offseason, which we kind of thought.
Very interesting.
A little off from the Super Bowl, but that just kind of now is breaking. So that'll be interesting.
There's a couple pieces of news. I know the other one we're not going to get into today.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump into that, and I told you before we're going to get in there, but this just
happened. This just
literally happened right now.
Yeah. No. But I'll tell you, this is going to set up. Boy, I tell you, it's going
to be.
Imagine where that's going to. And it's funny, man. And I don't want to get too deep. I know it's all about the Super Bowl today, but it feels like. Let me ask you this: is Aaron Rodgers? I mean, I know the Jets. There's some names, in the next show we could talk about. I think there's some names around the league floating around that make a lot of sense.
There will be
going there this year and being quarterback over there. But
I want to get into that during the week, not today.
Right. But no, I get what you're saying. But let me ask you this: is this it for Aaron Rodgers? You think, or is this he will find another team, or you think this is the eventual retirement for him?
Oh man, that's a good question. If
I'm trying to find a fit all around the league, and I don't know where it's at.
If I were a GM, I would probably not touch Aaron Rodgers or sign him.
Right.
No, I couldn't. Just based off of what he had with New York, he got Robert Saleh fired. He thought that was going to solve the problem. It actually got worse after him.
Right.
His injuries. He's just Dave. You and I, we talk about these older quarterbacks. Yeah. I take a much more dynasty fantasy approach when it comes to these older guys. But the proof is always in the pudding. When you get into that age, and I think he's 40 something now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
There's no future. There's no future in that. move.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
And it's just we saw that with him. We saw that now with Kirk Cousins, who looks like he's fixing to be cut. It's just I stay away from quarterbacks that are over the age of 33, 34 because
I think Rodgers was kind of the copycat from the Brady thing. I mean,
this is a great analogy.
A Hall of Fame quarterback.
This is a great analogy. Hold on, I'm gonna put an analogy here. Right? You see this? This is just a bottle of water, right?
Yeah.
This is your boy Spencer Rattler. Okay. Now, if this were full, this would be Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Once your time, you have done everything you can. In the NFL, you do not, and I'm not getting into Saints, but what I'm saying is just merely when it comes to an older quarterback, it's done. There's you're not getting better with age.
Yeah.
Other than the fact, like Tom Brady, like he was it's Tom Brady for crying out loud. Yeah. It does not happen.
No. So, and it was almost perfect too with Brady. You know,
well, it was because he also
had Bruce Arians with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and his pretty good defense that was overlooked by the rest of the league. But as a Saints fan, I watched them twice a year for a few years, and that was those Jameis teams where we always said, man, you know, if they had a little more consistency at quarterback, that team is pretty good. So Brady made a smart choice. I just don't know if that smart choice is out there with Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe the only team I can think of, and like I said, I don't want to spend too, but maybe does Pittsburgh go down that road? But then again, what are you doing the same thing right now with Russell Wilson?
I would rather.
Rodgers really going to give you that much more than Wilson's giving you?
I would stick with either Fields or Wilson over Rodgers. And me personally, I would go with Fields over Wilson because at some point you're going to be looking at the same exact situation you're seeing with Aaron Rodgers.
And I just look at it. Tomlin wouldn't take the bullshit. That's why I throw the Steelers because they are like this playoff caliber team. Tomlin's a no-nonsense guy that's not going to go play that game with Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to get Tomlin fired. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe this might be it, dude. I don't know. It might be it for Aaron Rodgers.
I think it is. I think it's done. But
I just don't see the fit. I mean, I look at, you always try to say, who's that bizarre, dumbass franchise that does something like the Saints would have did prior to the Sean Payton era, that goes and gets a rundown quarterback or something. You know what I mean? Somebody that needs to hang them up or somebody that's coming off a major injury who lost it. I don't know who – I just can't identify that team right now.
Yeah.
It
would be hard. It would be
hard. The Raiders might have been that team in the past, but with Brady there's no way that's happening.
No, that's not happening.
And they don't have the guns. That's not an attractive destination just yet. No offense to the Raiders, but they need to do this organically and retool that team. You know what I mean? But I mean that before Brady got there, hey, if this is Mark Davis just trying to make splash moves and get attention, then maybe. But with Brady in the building, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah, but I guess we're going to talk more about all this week because there's going to be some things.
It's going to be lots of shit's going to be coming up to talk about, man.
Tons of stuff coming Monday. I think you're going to start seeing, especially with the Saints, obviously, you're going to see some stuff there. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the Jets quarterback future. I do want to touch on the Raiders a little bit. Obviously, free agency's coming up. And then, of course, my favorite time is the draft.
Man.
I know your boy. We're going to talk a little bit about Jackson Dart. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks in the draft. It's going to be fun. And then not to mention fantasy football. We're more partial to the dynasty aspect of it. We play the long-term game.
When you play dynasty and you play – look, dude, there's nothing wrong. I played in the redraft league this year. I got to the championship and lost against the Dancing Bear. But it's – I don't know, dude. It's just – it feels – I don't know, man. It just feels more skillful. It feels like anybody could just catch a little luck in a 10-man redraft, a 12 or 14-man dynasty. It feels like you got to know what you're doing and you got to make some real smart calls on that, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's a little bit about looking at, in my opinion, when you're playing dynasty and you're looking at these prospects, you're looking for the long game. You're trying to pinpoint how much do you truly love football? How much do you truly watch football? We're not saying everyone is an end zone expert because there's only two of us, but
you got to find those diamonds in a rough, like you said. How many people are looking at the 20th ranked rookie wide receiver?
That's right.
You know,
to me, that's enjoyable. That's fun.
That's how it gets. That's where we hopefully can help you guys in that type of stuff. I mean, like, you got to go find those guys, and that's what the dynasty draft does. And then it's funny, like a lot of guys who don't play dynasty, they're like, "Oh shit, well, who was this guy that came out of nowhere? Who was this, like Tyrone Tracy or Larry Conkey or whoever?
Just for example, like I don't think this guy's going to be a stud RB1, and we're not going. It's already over an hour, but we're just kind of having fun talking. I really like the guy from the Bills. I like Ray Davis. I think if he went to another team, he could probably ball out a little bit.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think his career kind of ends up in a borderline, at best, RB2 / flex. That's kind of be where Ray Davis would be.
Yeah.
But that kid's explosive, and he's
just behind the wrong guy because James.
That's right. That's
really
right.
good the last 2 years. I mean,
that's right, and that's what me and you will talk about this season is. There's guys that are really good you might keep on your roster, but just the expectation of them, they're not going to blow up any more than what they are because James Cook is relatively young. Each year goes by, that takes a little bit away from each player. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And especially running backs, their lifespans are 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, and that's when in maybe 2 years from now, Ray Davis, let's say he hits the open market, and there's a fan wanting more of a name at running back who's maybe more confident with stats, and no, you want the Ray Davis guy, or like this year, like a Jordan Mason maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
That showed a little something, doesn't have the mileage, but like those guys. That they're going to be starting running backs for somebody's, at some point.
Yeah, they will. They will be.
So it's like, and that's what the thing too. When you dig deep into that dynasty stuff, it's almost like you one step ahead of your buddies at the office, man. Like you're just not waiting for that name guy. Years ago, people still drafting Ezekiel Elliott in their redraft leagues, and they're ignoring guys like Ray Davis or Jordan Mason. You know what I mean? Who's sitting behind maybe a bigger name who get an opportunity somewhere else. Those are the guys you tend to follow players longer, to me too, Chris. I don't know, like, and I find you almost like attached to certain guys a little bit, because it's your guy. You picked him.
Yeah.
You played holding that guy for years, rather than just another redraft. And I'm just going to pick based on the board that given year. Like I'm investing into those players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right. Once a guy becomes yours, you're kind of, you're kind of the fan of that guy. Like I'm a Bryce Young guy. And you know what I had with him and how I traded a future for this year's first for Bryce Young last year, and at one point I thought I may have made the wrong mistake, and now it really pans out. But it goes to show you when you're sitting down thinking about your dynasty,
dude,
players, don't doubt yourself.
No.
Go and trust what you've seen. If you know what you're looking for, go with your gut.
Don't give up on guys too early.
Don't give up on guys too early. That happens all the time. And
I have Josh Allen for a reason, and it's not because I drafted him. That I got him after his rookie season for a mid-round rookie draft pick. You know what I mean?
One thing I
gave up on him after 1 year.
Yeah. No doubt. One thing I say is probably one of my biggest weaknesses is I'm maybe too generous with wanting certain players. The great thing is when I want players at a great value, that the trade partner typically overvalues them, so we never can work out a deal, and it always works out in my favor. I mean, I remember a year or two ago, I was trying to get Desmond Ridder for a third or fourth round, and the guy was like, "I'm not going to do it." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, man, that's pretty fair." Thank God I did.
You're just taking a flyer on a guy. You're taking a stab at
flyer on the guy, but
not a dude that's accomplished much of anything at that point. But you want to take a flyer on him,
That's right. Malik Willis, that was another one. I still like Malik Willis, but unfortunately now that he's in year that was year 2, so he'll be in year 3 this coming season, I believe. He's behind Jordan Love. Well, he's never going to get a starting opportunity unless we trade for him. But I was willing to give like a third or a second round pick for him. The guy didn't want to. Cool. Yeah. Now he's just on the bench, and I can grab him if I want. But it's just those are type of the trades I end up trying to go after. But I do buy low. I don't typically buy high because my value. You have to. If I like somebody, I'm going to bid you something that I believe is fair. I'm not going to give you a first for somebody that it's just because I want him. You know what I mean? I'm giving you a fair offer. And 9 out of 10 times when the guys don't accept my offer, they end up kicking themselves in the butt because they would at least had something for nothing. But
yeah, you got to take some gambles with it, man. You got to take some gambles in Dynasty. You got to take a few gambles. You got to hold on to guys a little bit. It's almost like, it's like a prospect, man. I mean, look, most guys don't. Not everybody comes out and does what Jaden Daniels does as a rookie.
No,
you know what I mean. There's guys like Josh Allen that have bad rookie seasons, and then 2 years later they're one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. It happens that way.
And it also
C.J. Stroud last year had that great start. That doesn't happen every day.
No, I think too. It's my approach is different than your approach. I think we all have different approaches.
Yeah,
I'm one that I looked at this year's draft and was comfortable. My quarterbacks in our league was really bad. I had C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and then I had Dalton. I had Aiden O'Connell at some point. I had some really bad. We're in a super flex league, so it's really quarterbacks, and it was really really tough. But I went out in this year's draft and I made a trade. I didn't have a first, so I needed to go out and get another guy. And I traded a third and a fourth for Michael Penix. Well, I did that when Kirk Cousins was on his tear. Because I told you earlier, Father of Time will always come out. They didn't draft these guys just to sit.
Yeah, they didn't surprise everybody on draft night back last April to say, hey, this guy's gonna, this wasn't Steve Young behind Joe Montana for 3 or 4 years. And we talking about Kirk Cousins was a guy in front of him.
That's correct.
He's a player, but let's be real, he's going to get replaced within the next year or two. That was always the plan.
When it comes to Dynasty, one thing and we're going to we're really off topic. Over the hour.
See, Dynasty, man, I'll do that shit to you, man. Dynasty
this is kind of a little tidbit. This is kind of what we're going to talk about in our Dynasty, segments and all that. But it's really Dynasty is about forward thinking. It's thinking and being ahead of the curve. That's what you want to be. You don't want to be for the here and the now. You want to be looking 10 steps to 20 steps ahead. I'm already looking for next year's draft. I know there's one quarterback that I want. Most likely I won't be there. So I'm already pivoting now to what I'm going to be looking for outside of that guy. Obviously everyone's going for our team next year. How does that look? So I'm already looking at other teams, weaknesses, strengths. I go into a deep dive.
You got it. And what you said is a good point, too. You have to analyze other people's rosters and dive.
You do.
You have to see what people are trying to do and figure them out. That's why sometimes it's almost like I'll rag certain guys in leagues. I can't understand what the hell they're doing. And it has an impact because, like I said, these guys and that's the thing about redraft, and we vote on trades. I know I don't want to get on to our league rules, and on some of our leagues do, some of them don't. But it's like you really have to have a feel. It's almost like an NFL GM. I mean, look, I know it's a little different, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you. Like if somebody makes a trade, all of a sudden you see everybody's eyes on it on the page. Everybody's looking at it because it's got, this impact factor, And it's not like you're just trading like a superstar receiver in a redraft for a running back. Hey, man, I think it's about to get really loud up in here, man.
It's okay, man. It's passed over the hour.
Yeah.
Anyways. So we'll be back next week or this coming week.
What's your score, man? What's your score?
I'm taking the Eagles 24-21, but I'm not going to be shocked if it's 28-21. But I'm taking
the same way. I'm sticking with my 28-25. I said on another show, so I got to stay with it. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, man, get into that food, bro. Let me know what's up with that, man.
We will. We'll post some pictures on our Facebook.
Rock and roll, man. Yes, sir.
All right.